couple years ago, about 5 years ago at Creation, I was at listening to morning sermon, and I was sitting next to Kathy Bond and I think Kelly Clark, and it was a young minister, and he was saying something about how you need to think of people that you want to share the gospel with. You need to really be challenging yourself to share Christ with other people. And so he said that, and I think he might have even said something like, think of a specific person. And immediately I thought of my friend Anish, who is the only friend that I maintained after college and continued a relationship with. And I thought, I really should share with him. He knows that I have faith, but I don't really ever tell him why or what it means to me. So I thought about it. And the sermon went on, and then at a certain point, the guy said something about cell phones and something. I thought he was just remarking about cell phones, but then he said, everybody reach into your pocket and pull out your cell phone. And I was like, I'm not reaching into my pocket. I hate it when there's like a pressure to do something. So I said, I didn't do anything. And then he said, now, the person that you thought about, I want you to text them right now and say, I need to talk to you about something very important when I get back. And so then I'm like, no way, I'm not, that's not me. And I remember Kathy said something to me like, come on, Steve, aren't you going to do that? And I said, I don't have my cell phone. Now, that was a lie. I had my cell phone, and I'm ashamed that I just was like, no, I'm not going to do it. But that's what I did. I just felt like I'm not going to jump through this guy's hoops. So after they did it, I said to myself, okay, God, I'll talk to Anish about this. I don't want to lose my opportunity. So I made up my mind to do that. Well, Creation ended, a couple of weeks went by, and my friend Anish, who was a traveling salesman, he was driving through Pennsylvania, and he called me up and he said, hey, would you like to meet me down in Morgantown? And I said, sure. And I even thought while I was driving down to meet him for dinner that, if the opportunity arises, I'm going to share my reason for faith, share about Jesus a little bit beyond what I usually do. And that was it. And so I got down there, and of course, the typical relationship that we had, mocking each other and just having a good time, took over. And before I know it, I was driving home, and I never said anything to him. And I felt a little disappointed, but I just kind of, again, rationalized, okay, well, maybe God really didn't want me to talk about it at that point. And I moved on. So a few more weeks went by, and I was at a certain place doing something, and I got a phone call, and I looked at it, didn't recognize the number, and so I didn't answer it. And after I left the place, I recalled the number, and it was my friend Ray, and he said, hey, what are you doing? And I just said, oh, I'm driving back from someplace. And he said, oh, I want to talk to you about something. Why don't you call me when you get home? So I said, okay. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. Like, haven't talked to this guy in a really long time. And then he says, call me later. So I got home, and I got on my computer, and I was looking at my emails, and immediately I saw 15 emails, like a thread, from people that were, like, the title of all the message bars were, have you seen Anish? Where's Anish? Checking on Anish, things like that. And I started reading through it, and I knew at that point that something had happened to Anish. And I remember my wife was sitting behind me, and I turned to her and I said, Anish must have died because something's going on here. And I just prayed. I was like, God, no. I really didn't want it to happen. So anyway, I got to the last message thread, and it said that his father was going over to his townhouse to check on him. And then I got done that, called my friend Ray, and Ray said, yeah, his dad found out that he was dead in his townhouse. And so I just was very ashamed of myself. I was ashamed because God provided me like an opportunity twice that I should share the gospel with him. And I never did. And I allowed my fear, my insecurities, all the things that we rationalized to stand in the way. And I made up my mind at that point, I am not going to disobey the Holy Spirit. Not that I have to jump through somebody's hoop, but I need to really, like, if the Holy Spirit nudges me to do something, I need to do it and find a way to do it. And the last thing about this story, which I didn't even share with Kathy and Randy when I was sharing this story to begin with, was the reason why I also know that God really wanted me to take a lesson from this was because I was actually standing on the altar of our church when I got the call. We were doing something. I don't remember what we were doing. And I was actually standing with Kathy when I saw that call, and I didn't take it. And so I knew that God was just reminding me, this is something that you need to remember. If you have the opportunity to share the gospel with somebody, take advantage of it, because you just don't know when you're going to have that opportunity again.